Good morning, everybody. It is 10 a.m. My name is Katie Carter. I am the Emergency Response Specialist with the National Weather Service, and we are going to get started with the week ahead. So relatively minor things that we are tracking, but still a few things that we should definitely keep our eye on, especially in the coming days. So today we do have the chance for some nuisance to even minor tidal flooding. I will say though that with this morning's high tide, things have come in a little bit lower than forecast. So things are looking better than what we were originally looking at, but we'll take a look at the next few days in that department as well. And then looking ahead to the middle of the week, we do have the risk of marginal risk for severe weather, almost statewide. That's the graphic that you're seeing on the right. And I'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. And then despite the rain that we did see over the weekend, and then even subsequent forecasts for rain, possibly a few little showers today, tomorrow, but mostly Wednesday is the day we're looking at for additional rain. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough to put too much of a dent in the widespread severe drought conditions that we really have across the entire state. So here's the weather pattern that we do have today, cooler than normal, much like what we saw yesterday too. It's just a classic cold air damming situation that we have overhead. So that kind of cooler air is really just wedged in overhead. The good news is at least we have the sunshine today that we did not have yesterday. So it kept that cool, damp feeling around. But the sun out will help to kind of dry things out that are maybe a little bit muddy due to the rain that we did see over the weekend. Now, an approaching system really in the middle of the country right now might swing up and bring the chance for far western Virginia very late tonight, a few sprinkles, but really it's going to largely be a dry day for almost the entire state. Looking ahead to tomorrow, we will see some afternoon showers, especially inland, not so much at the coast, at least on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we really see that system overhead. We'll see the warm front lifting in. We'll eventually get a shot of some warmer air. And then behind that cold front, we will see things clearing out and kind of temperatures a little bit all over the place for the week ahead, but definitely cool over the next few. So here's breaking down our severe weather potential. Again, today may be a thunderstorm in the western part of the state very late in the evening, but it's not looking like severe weather at all. In fact, the chance for even rain is very limited today. Jumping ahead to tomorrow, that threat for a thunderstorm goes a little bit farther eastward, but still kind of low on the scale. We will have a few scattered showers, possibly a rumble of thunder or two. But again, even with a thunderstorm potential tomorrow, severe weather is really not expected. It's Wednesday that we are keeping an eye on. Now, right now, it is just level 1, a marginal risk across almost the entire state with the exclusion of far southwest Virginia. And it's just due to the dynamics. We have a warm front and a cold front. So we'll introduce quickly kind of a dose of, I would say more, not quite tropical, but warmer and more moist air. And then it'll draw in some colder air behind it. So just kind of all of those different air masses combining will lead to the potential for some stronger to even severe thunderstorms Wednesday. Now, it does look like a pretty decent dose of rain is coming this way. We absolutely need a whole lot more, but Wednesday, we could be looking at anywhere from 1/4 of an inch up to 1 inch of rainfall. And this is really over the course of the next 3 days. So this is a 3-day rainfall totals. So tomorrow we might see a little bit, maybe up to 1/4 of an inch in a few isolated locations, but really Wednesday is our next rainmaker that is going to help things out a little bit. Unfortunately, not put too much of a dent in our drought conditions just because it is so extreme. In the far western part of the state, it looks like we'll see the most amount of rain, 1.5 up to 2 inches. But remember, this is today all the way through early Wednesday. Accumulated precipitation forecast. So what I showed you in the slide previous was just the first 3 days, and this is just kind of breaking it up so you can see the first half of the week and then the second half. So through Wednesday evening, that's our best chance of rain, and then the second half of our week, Thursday all the way through the weekend, it does look like a pretty dry weekend, unlike what we just came out of. So it's first half of the week is definitely more wet, and the second half erring on the side of dry. Now getting back to our tidal flooding potential. So today we did have the risk of some mainly nuisance up to possibly minor tidal flooding. Now this is really just in our low-lying areas right along the immediate coastline here. So I know that these graphics can be a little bit more deceiving, just the way that it kind of highlights well over where that inland flooding could be, but it's just our tidal locations at high tide for our morning and afternoon tides that we could be seeing up to 1 foot of inundation above ground level at our most low-lying locations right along the immediate coastline. As I mentioned at the beginning though, this morning's high tide came in and it came in a little bit lower than forecast, so we're thankful for that. We're not seeing at least to the extent that we were predicting. Over the next few days, it's not quite of a widespread of chance for tidal flooding, but we might see a few low-lying areas, especially tomorrow and even Wednesday, getting into a little bit of flooding. But the properties are usually away from that and are, they know if they're susceptible to some of that minor flooding. Here we are looking at our temperature trend. So today and tomorrow, a little bit cooler than normal. And then we see a spike on Wednesday with the arrival of that initial warm front pushing in that warmer air, and then kind of back to slightly cooler, at least for this time of the year. I don't want to say cool. I mean, 60s and low 70s, still pretty nice, but it is slightly cooler than normal for this time of the year. And then that cooler air sticks around with us through the weekend. And then Monday, we see another rise in temperatures. So kind of in that spring period where we see boosts and then we see some cooler days. Overnight lows, thankfully, just due to the added cloud cover, especially when we get into Wednesday and Thursday, will stay quite mild, 40s and even low 50s. And it looks like, at least for this point, kind of here on out, we're going to stay away from the freezing mark. You see one lonely 32 in Wytheville on early Sunday morning, but for the most part, it looks like our freezing temperatures should be behind us as we are rounding out April and heading into May. And the probability of precipitation just reiterates what I mentioned about low-end rain chances on tomorrow afternoon, and then kind of ramping things up on Wednesday. Now, Thursday, it does look pretty high for our rain potential, but I will preface this by saying that's kind of the carryover of Wednesday night into Thursday, and then things really taper off on Wednesday. So I'd say during the day on Wednesday, we're not going to be seeing much rainfall, and then looking fairly nice low-end chances through the weekend. In terms of temperatures, this is the one of the last graphics that I have for you, looking at the first week of May 2nd through the 6th. We are trending cooler than normal, and then precipitation-wise, unfortunately, kind of near normal, maybe even below normal for this time of the year, and we desperately need that. I didn't put any drought graphics in, not because we are not under a drought, but remember the U.S. Drought Monitor comes out and is updated on Thursdays, so it's the Thursday briefings that we will be able to see how the rainfall from the weekend and on Wednesday really hopefully helped things. I'm trying to be a little bit optimistic, but I've got to say it doesn't look like it's going to be too helpful there. Spring fire season almost over. Open burning is prohibited before 4 p.m. I know a lot of folks on this call are aware of that, but until April 30th. And this is outside of any of the local burn bans that may be happening just due to conditions in some of our localities. And the last thing I'll leave you with is just a space weather forecast in terms of our GPS and our communications. Things are looking good. We don't see any solar flares on the horizon the next few days to have any impacts on power systems or communication systems. So that is good news. I will leave you with that pending any questions, but a pretty straightforward forecast. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, we will have another update via email on Thursday. Have a great week, everyone.